Hello everyone and welcome back to Vida Fútbol. My name is Laureano. I'm a UEFA B licensed coach, currently coaching in Germany. And today's video is a video on the 3-2-3-2 formation. We will be looking at the position and basic movements of this formation. Then we will move on to defending with the 3-2-3-2 formation. And then we will finish with ways to attack with this formation. To begin, we're going to look at the backline of three, and this formation is used when you have three or more center backs to play with, and this formation can adapt. So if, let's say, for example, you have two natural center backs and a center back that is typically a fullback, it is also possible to play with this formation, and we will get into that in a bit. So moving up the pitch, here we have two center defensive midfielders, and what I mean with if you have two natural center backs, then it is enough to play with this formation, because at any given point could we have a center defensive midfielder drop in between the lines and become center backs as well. So for example, the 6 and 8 drop back, the 3 and the 4 open up. So this, for example, you would have a natural fullback or a player that can play both as a fullback and as a center back, and then you have a more natural center back that would open up. Ideally, if you're going to play in this formation or use this variation, then it would be nice for you to have a 3 and a player like a number 2 as well start as a center back and have your 6 and 8 kind of be center backs throughout this type of play. Okay, but this is not ideal for this formation because it leaves a big gap in the center of the pitch. Okay, if you do this, it'll be momentarily, it wouldn't be a permanent move. So ideally you want to have 3 center backs that are natural center backs that are focused on covering the back and not really worried too much about opening up too often. Okay, if you have one of those players, then it's more possible, right? Because you have the center still covered. If, for example, this number 3 opens up, the number 8 drops to cover for the number 3. In this case, the number 6 is the center defensive midfielder that is worried and caring for the center of the pitch so that the attack can progress. Okay, so that is 3 center backs, 2 center defensive midfielders. So now we'll take a look at the 3 midfielders that we have. As you can see here, the 3 players are really spread out, which is typically fine because we have the center well covered with 2 center defensive midfielders. We have the number 10 that can also drop down a little bit and support, and at any given point can this formation become 3 midfielders all together so that you have the center of the pitch covered. And just for further support, especially if you have the 3 center backs, they're stable and covering the back, so you can have coverage in the center of the pitch and you can have that coverage with these outside midfielders on the outside. But these lines are separated, so you have a 6 and an 8 being one line, and then the 2, the 7 and the 10 being its own line. But that being said, there is a wide spread in between the attacking midfielder and the outside midfielders. There is a big gap, and this gap is often occupied by one of the center defensive midfielders during attack or one of the strikers during a build-up, and we will get into that shortly. So optimally here, it's great for the midfield because you have the 6 and 8 for support. On the outside, you will need players that are fit, that are strong, that are capable of running up and down the pitch. In this case, the 7 and 2 are the outside midfielders, and they will have to run a lot, going up and down the pitch to support defensively and going up the pitch to support during the attack. That is an important role. It's important to have these players and to have substitutes to substitute for these players if we need it. But again, this position is very important for this formation to work because naturally having 3 midfielders is a little bit more likely because teams are often playing in, for example, a 4-3-3, a 4-2-3-1, the 4-3-3 with 1 center defensive midfielder and 2 attacking midfielders, or in a line. So there are different possibilities with having 3 midfield players, or even playing in the 5-3-2, for example, or the 3-5-2. There are multiple formations that have 3 in the middle. Okay, now the difference here is that we have the outside midfielders here basically playing on their own and covering on their own. So let's move on, and here we have the 2 forwards, and these 2 forwards should be players that complement each other, that are good at communicating with one another, and that are technical enough to hold the ball with their backs against the opponent's goal. But these players are important in creating triangles during the attack. So here between the 10, 7 and 9, for example, and on the other side the 10, 11 and 2, and at any given point they should be able to come down in between the lines to offer a passing option to the center backs or the center defensive midfielders during the build-up and during the attacking phase. So they are moving as well, but these players should be very technical and are going to be important with helping on the outside as well. So like I mentioned, the 7 and 2 are alone, so during a press on the opponent's left side, so meaning the ball would be there, in this this case, the number 11 will shift and help the number 2 to put pressure there, in essence helping in the wing, okay? And if the ball should continue and progress, the number 2 would be still the player preventing the play from progressing, but the number 11 will help on the wing and try to help the number 2 in creating a 2 versus 1 or forcing a bad pass, okay? So the strikers are going to be important and will play a role in helping with the pressure on the outsides. Now let's take a look at how we would defend. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the build-up from the opponents and how we defend, and we're going to begin with defending with a high press. So in the 3-2-3-2 formation, doing a high press would require some adapting, because should we separate the lines, let's say for example the 9-11 are one line and 7-10 and 2 stay a little bit behind, this is not going to work as efficiently, because this would naturally just give the opponents an open player on the outside. So if the 4 and 5 open up, for example, they will come here, the pressure will come and they can easily get it to the number 3, because the number 2 in this case would have 6 in the center to worry about, 8 coming from the back diagonally from the center of the pitch, and then the number 11 coming up and helping as well. So putting pressure there can lead to a dangerous pass to the number 11 and then a clear path on our half of the pitch. Okay, so we would need a little bit more pressure there in order for this to not be so easy. Okay, so during a high press, we would essentially just bring our players to the outside here. Our 7 and 2 would put a little bit more pressure. Our 6 and 8 would be a little bit more in the line. And this is one variation. I will show you 2 variations on how to defend. Okay, so naturally in the center, there is a 3 versus 3 even numbered situation here between our players and their players. So the 6, 8, and 10 versus the 6, 8, and 10. But as we can see here on the outsides, we have a numerical disadvantage of 2 versus 1. So what that means is that we would need our number 3 to essentially shift over if the play is on the opponent's left side or right side. So this would just essentially require us to shift over so that our number 3 can put a little pressure there and create at least an even numbered situation. Okay, so let's take a look at what this does. The pass goes there and then we immediately start the moving. Number 9 covers the pass back. The number 11 comes at an angle to essentially force the pass to the number 3, but not leaving so much space that the number 8 can easily drop the ball off to the number 6 there. So coming at an angle, but still covering this pass, or at least in a position to cover that pass to the number 8 and a pass to the center there. Our number 2 will also make this run as well, so that when this pass happens, it is not one-timed into the center, okay, but forced to move forward like this. And then there we apply the pressure. The number 11 now cuts the pass back to the 4 and the 3. The number 9 goes into the center of the pitch. The number 7 is already putting pressure in there as well. Number 3 is already putting the pressure on the number 11, and then we're essentially on a man-to-man situation. Ideally for us, we try to avoid this pass to the number 6, because a pass to the number 6 would essentially ease them of pressure, because they would essentially just move it to the other side and then build from the other side, and then we're shifting, and then we have to drop back to a midfield press or even a defensive press. So the moving has to happen quickly, and ideally we put the pressure and try to create the 2 versus 1 numerical advantage on the outsides with the 2 and the 11. And should the pass get to their number 11, our 3 is already there, and then our number 2 comes in and helps from the top and creates the pressure there. Okay, so now let's reset a little bit. So here we are again, and now the second variation of how to defend in a high press would be essentially moving our number 10 up the pitch, creating a formation of now a 3-4-3. So here, as we can see, the 7 and 2 now tuck in a little bit because we have that pressure on top now. Should the pass go to the outside, of course, naturally the 5 and the 4 will open up to have that initial pass. And once the pass is made, the pressure comes, boom, 7 goes up to pressure on the number 2. Of course, their players will move as well, naturally, but our players are essentially also coming in, covering passes. So for example, the number 11 will put pressure on the goalkeeper. So if there is a pass back to the goalkeeper, that it's forced quickly up, because our number 10 is leaving their position in the midfield. We would want them, instead of putting pressure on the goalkeeper there, that they drop back and help. Should the number 5 pass there, that our number 10 is there to put the pressure. And by our number 11 being the one that puts the pressure on the goalkeeper, if the pass should be there, we can try to intercept or try to get the second ball. Whatever it is, our number 10, we want them to help in the center as soon as that pass to the outside is made, so that we always have an equal number in the center of the pitch, okay, or at least that we try to get there. So defending in a 3-4-3 is ideal because it's a good balance. There's 3 players in the back covering the strikers or the 3 forwards. We have a numerical advantage in the center of the pitch with the 2, 7, 6, and 8 versus the 6, 8, and 10. So right there are number 2 and number 7. If they are to tuck back in, then we have this 4 versus 3 there, right? But once the pass is made, our number 10 can drop into the center, our 2 and 7 can spread out, and then we are good to go back into our formation of 3-2-3-2. Okay, so that is putting pressure on top. Defensively, in our defensive half, we can change into a 5-3-2, and then we have a strong center block, and we have the 2 forwards there to put the pressure. Then we have this balance. We have a back line of 5 at any given point that can easily become 4-4-2 should the number 7, number 2 step up. There's a lot of dynamic options with this formation, but the most natural, of course, would be that the 2, 7, and 10 drop back, creating a 5-3-2. Okay, and then with this 5-3-2, of course, there is a lot of coverage in the center of the pitch, forcing the opponents to attack through the outside, which is okay for us because with the players that we do have in this formation, it is easy to essentially help on the outsides. So for example, let's move everybody up the pitch. So now, should we be in a situation where the opponents are pressuring, they get the ball on our half? So now we have man-to-man here, 7 and 7, man-to-man here, 6 and 10, and then man-to-man here, 9 and 6. Would leave only the pass back to the number 5 open and available, and that's okay. So that is if we want to allow the number to move a little bit, right? If we don't feel the threat from that player, then we would allow them to move up the pitch a bit. But if we want to add the pressure immediately as soon as this pass is made, then the number 7 would try to cover that pass to the number 7. Number 4 would shift over, 5 would shift over, 3 and 2 would shift over as well. So this number 4 will now keep an eye on the number 7. Our number 7 would put pressure there. Our number 6 would also put pressure. Our number 9 would also put pressure. So now we have the 6, the 7, and 9 putting pressure on this number 2. Of course, this would leave gaps in between these players, but we want to make this happen quickly so that these passes here to the number 7, for example, or through to the number 6 don't occur. And it's all about the angles as well, right? So if the number 10 is there, then our run would be essentially trying to cover that pass there. If the number 6 is there, then our number 9 will be coming in from a little bit more to the left so that when that pressure comes, the pass back is the only one that's available. And even then, our number 11 would go into the center, and then if that pass is there, then we would essentially just allow that pass to continue to the other side, and then we try again on the opposite side. Okay, so ideally what we want to do is to try to create a numerical advantage on the outsides. And I say create because naturally we have numerical advantage in the center of the pitch. In the center of the pitch, we can even create traps by allowing passes to occur. So for example, here the 4 and the 6, we allow that pass to the number 6 and then immediately put pressure there, forcing a quick pass and forcing an error. Okay, so then that is also something that is possible with defending in the 5-3-2 because you have so many players in that center block that when passes go into the center of the pitch, we have enough players there to essentially react or act ahead of time to anticipate the potential passing options. So the traps we create on the outside, and that is essentially how we defend. Okay, so I just showed you how to defend in a high press, and then if the opponents do get past and are attacking on our half, we drop back and our number 7, our number 2, number 10 drop into the lines right behind, creating a 5-3-2 formation. Okay, so let's look into how we can attack in the 3-2-3-2 formation. So let's move the players now. Here we are, 3-2-3-2 formation, attacking, and here the opponents again are in a 4-3-3 and they're running a defensive press, so they are waiting for us to move up the pitch. Now for this formation, it's quite nice that we have so many players available. Even if we were to build up, we would have just naturally 5, and then if the 2 and 7 were to drop back, then we have 6 players. With 6 players, it should be possible to essentially get some passes to build up to this position. Of course, with a high press, it's always difficult, but with 6 players, there should be, and we should find an open player at any given point. We just need to be quick enough, we need to be sharp in our passes so that when we move up the pitch, that the opponents have a hard time adapting to it, to the quickness, I mean. But again, with having 5 players there, as you can see here, 5 versus 3, it should be possible for us to move the ball up the pitch. So we're gonna keep this triangle here now, just to see how the game evolves. So here, for example, depending on what the opponents are trying to do, if they're trying to force us to one side, for example, that's okay. We should have a player available. Number 2 can drop back. This will force a pass there. This will force the opponents to push up and put a little bit of pressure. If they don't, then we can get the ball there if they're late to that, and we can take advantage of the situation here, 2 versus 1, a nice wall pass there, and we can attack through the outside. Okay. That is of course ideal. That is of course if the opponents allow us to receive the ball on the outside, then that pass is possible. Okay, another thing that would be possible if, let's say, the pass is covered there, our number 8 can come here as a decoy, forcing these 2 players to move about, and then we can have a direct pass the outside where our number 11 is making a run there. So that is a little bit more direct, but it is possible to create these situations. But of course, teams will learn and they will cover the spaces. The number 11 would be covered by the number 4. So the number 4 would not, hopefully, if I was the coach of this team and that happened more than 2 times, even more than once, I would definitely say something to that player, right? That they haven't learned, that they haven't adapted to that movement. But as long as it's working, we do it. Okay, but let's be a little bit more elaborate now. So number 3 gets the ball, passes to the number 8. We allow them to give a little pressure. We move it. So, okay, once the number 8 has the ball, then number 3 should move a little bit up the pitch. Number 2 goes up, forcing their players to do something. So we're all moving. Okay, so now here we have another situation. So now we are a little bit further out, a little bit higher up the pitch. Hopefully by then we have reached opponent's half. So when the pressure comes, we can play there to the number 2, create that pressure there, get our players to the outside. So the number 9 will be there alone. Our number 10 will try to get in between the lines here. They will smash the center of the pitch. And if that happens, if we don't have that option of getting the ball to the number 11, for example, then essentially we reset, okay? And that's okay. Resetting is okay as long as we do it quickly, because the ball is always going to move faster than the players, right? So then we can move that and then get the ball to the other side. And then since the players are still on this side moving and shifting over, we can already have our number 7 be ready to put the ball in the penalty area and try to get across there, boom, to try to get a shot on target or a header or a one-time or a volley into the goal. Okay, so having so many players shift to one side, if we can manage the opponents to go to one side, we move quickly to the other side. And because our players are also there, we use that to try to get across and attack quickly by getting a cross in and our players to essentially finish at the end. Okay, so we can be a little bit more direct with this formation, we can be elaborate with this formation, and there is a good balance. But again, should the ball be lost, the number 2 and the number 7 on the outsides need to recover quickly and remember that they are the only ones essentially on the outside. And that is it. So if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, comment that in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching this video. I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.